Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is the 4th of October. US market last night was pretty awful, and it can become even more ugly. We had S&P 500 down 1.4% almost, very close to the 200 moving average. It hasn't seen since in Q1, Q2. But there's more downside to it. 4,200, where we have the 200 moving average coming up, seems to be likely, and we can also see it this morning here on the future and the CFD. It is actually there already, very close to at least dipping to, it's actually touched 4,200, sorry. So maybe a little bit of bounce here, but it's more a psychological level than an actual technical level. So 4160, 4170, around this level, we could see a dip down. Then we have the shoulder head shoulder pattern unfolding down to around the 61.8 retracement or projection, which it really is around this level. Nasdaq 100. Also lower, and let's have a look at the future slash the US NAS 100 CFD, 14,250. There's some support around that level. It is strangely enough still holding on quite nicely compared to S&P 500, but there is room down to around 13,600 if bears really are taking control here. But it's still holding on a little bit, but we are in a downtrend. On the European markets, DAX is very close to test its 14,933 support level, so we are now below 15,000, as you can see, and there could be more downside in coming days and weeks down to this support area here. You can see on the weekly on the right side, 14,450, 14,675. This support area here is quite likely to be tested within the next week or so, possibly. AEX from Amsterdam dipping down again this morning around the 715, 716 support level, but we are in a downtrend also in that one, and there could be more downside for AEX. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see that what will happen here. Well, down below 700, 690 is not unlikely, but there will be some support around the current levels. Belgian market has taken out the June low here around 34.64, and if we are looking at the bigger picture, it is actually in a downtrend. It's been for quite some time, and there's room down to around 3,300 to 3,250. Finally, CAC index, and let's zoom out on that one too. CAC index also below its support there after the selling yesterday. Next one is the area between 6,885 and down to around 6,800, where there can be short-term exhaustion on the CAC 40. But as you can see here, the downtrend is quite clear also on medium term. Moving on to euro dollar, that seems to be in exhaustive move, at least short term. Here we have divergence on the RSI, where you can see these lows here. They are not really, they are not lower than the previous one where the market did a low. So we have divergence indicating we are at an exhaustive phase here. If RSI moves back above the upper falling trend line here, and especially above the 40 threshold here, well then I think we are. It's a good sign that we are in for at least a correction that could take us up to test the upper falling trend line. There will be some resistance at the 106 level. Got it right there. Yep. So around 106 could be the first obstacle. If it can take out that one, well, then there's room up to around 108, but that might be a stretch. But let's see. Cable Also in exhaustive move, you can see there's divergence here on the RSI. If we can get RSI back above the 40, well, then there's also a correction in there for that. But it's not unlikely we'll test the strong support around 120 here down here before that scenario is playing out. A break above the upper falling trend line, and we are likely to be in a corrective move with resistance at 122.75. Dollar yen, as we can see here, yesterday it really broke out with a bang of this rising wedge-like pattern here, but it closed back above. But now we are trading below the lower rising trend line, and we could see dollar yen moving lower here in the coming days. Simply also because RSI divergence has been indicating a looming correction. How big it will be, it's really hard to predict, of course, but there's some support around 146.40. However, if we're looking at the weekly chart, there's still room up to the previous peak here, but we might have a correction just before we reach that, if we reach that, it's hard to say. But we are in a very stretched uptrend also on the medium term, so maybe we will get a correction. Euro yen dipped below support at 155.50, but still closed above the 100 moving average and still in this shaded area, which is the cloud. So technically it's still in a bullish trend, but from a cloud perspective, but we have taken out the key support here at 156.60. So I think we will see a pressure down next couple of days here. If it closes below 155.5, well, then we are in for a move down to 153, 152 and a half level. Very interesting to look out for what will happen with the RSI down here. Aussie yen, we have very volatile yesterday after being rejected at the actually collapsing after closing above 95.85, which was quite interesting move. We are back below the rising trend line, and we will be looking at 93.50. That is the key support here. So I think we will see a little bit of range bound here the next couple of days. RSI is still below, above 40. So we could be a little bit of range bound here, and in the broader picture, or the bigger picture, we will be range bound down to 92. It's not unlikely we'll drop there, but it's really that one is really tough at the moment, and maybe that has something to do also with Aussie dollar, which we are going to look at in a moment. We have sterling yen here at dancing around the 180 level, where there's some support, but we are below the cloud. We are below 55 moving average, below 21, and we are below the 100 moving average, and we have RSI in a negative sentiment. So I believe we will see sterling yen trading towards 176, 175 here in the next couple of weeks. And very quickly on the Aussie dollar, as you can see, it's moving lower yesterday, bouncing a little bit this morning, but there's room down to 61.85 support level. Finally, on the dollar index, very stretched uptrend. We now have divergence here with these peaks here, peak values here on the RSI that is declining, where the market has moved higher. There's still room up to 107.90, but as we can see here, it's actually testing the upper part of the cloud. So maybe we will have, I think we will have a correction here if it takes out the lower rising trend line. Then I think we will have a correction down towards 104.5 level around here. Gold downtrend also seems very stretched. However, it could dip down to around 1800 before I think we will see a correction, but it is looming a correction. We have RSI below the 20 level, which is quite a stretched. I really oversold a very short term. As you can see here, it's really below 20, and as we talked about, around 1800, very strong support level here also on the medium term. Silver closed below 21 and a quarter a couple of days ago, and is now hovering around just below it, dipping down below 21. So we are in a bearish trend with room down to around 20, which is very key support here also around that level. But we are in a downtrend, as you can see, after breaking below the lower rising trend line there. Copper 362.70 it took out, as we discussed yesterday, but 354 and a half. I think it will be tested here in the next couple of days, and that one I think will hold for at least on the short term. But as you can see, we are almost in a bearish trend. If we can get RSI on the weekly to close below 40, well, then there's room down to around the 313, 320 level down here. But you can see how 354.50 is really a key level. On the energy side, we have Brent that is in a corrective phase and could potentially drop down to around 88 level, where we have support, and we have the 61.8 retracement. WTI, think we will have a new test today of the AEX25 support, and then we are in for a correction down to around 83.5, 83.75, and the lower rising trend line here. But the 61.8 correction is in the cards. Finally, when we're talking about energy, Henry Hub natural gas is about to test the $3 level again today. Let's see if it can close above. If it does, well, then it paves the way higher. We will round off with the US 10-year that spiked almost towards 5%, 4.88. But I think there is more into it, and I will publish a report on that later that points to above 5%, 5.25 potentially, which we have not seen since 2006, 2007 on the US 10-year. But that could also be the exhaustive move. All right, that's all for today. Very interesting day, and there are very interesting days ahead, I'm sure, here in October. So happy trading, and keep your stops tight. Thank you.